Have you ever noticed how your brain can turn a tiny problem into a disaster that hasn't even happened yet? You send a message, and suddenly you're convinced they're ignoring you. You feel a small pain in your body, and your mind jumps to the worst possible diagnosis. You make one mistake at work, and within minutes you're imagining your entire future falling apart. The strange part? Most of these terrifying scenarios never happen, yet your brain keeps replaying them over and over, stealing your peace, your sleep, and your confidence. Here's the truth that almost nobody talks about. Your brain isn't trying to make you miserable, it's trying to protect you. The problem is that your brain was built for a dangerous world that no longer exists. Today, it often mistakes uncertainty for danger and imagination for reality. The good news? You don't need to silence your thoughts. You don't need to think positive every second. You simply need to understand how your brain works and learn a few simple habits that stop worry before it takes control of your life. By the end of this video, you'll discover 7 practical psychology-backed strategies that can help you break free from endless overthinking, calm your mind, and finally start enjoying the present instead of fearing the future. Let's begin. Take a moment and think about how your day usually begins. Before you've even gotten out of bed, you've probably checked your phone. A few minutes later, you've already seen breaking news, social media updates, work emails, messages, advertisements, and dozens of other people's opinions. Your brain hasn't even had breakfast yet, but it's already processing hundreds of pieces of information. No wonder it feels overwhelmed. The human brain evolved in a world where information arrived slowly. Today, it never stops. Every notification demands your attention. Every headline competes for your emotions. Every social media post invites you to compare your life with someone else's highlight reel. Without realizing it, your brain stays in a constant state of alertness. And when your mind is overloaded, worrying becomes much easier. Think of your brain like a computer. If you open 10 programs, it still works. Open 100, and eventually everything slows down. Your thoughts work the same way. When your mind is filled with endless noise, even small problems begin to feel enormous. That's why one of the most powerful ways to reduce anxiety isn't adding another self-help habit. It's removing unnecessary mental clutter. Try giving your brain a few moments of silence each day. Go for a short walk without headphones. Eat one meal without scrolling your phone. Sit outside and simply observe what's happening around you. At first, the silence may feel uncomfortable. That's normal. Your brain has become addicted to constant stimulation. But after a few days, something surprising begins to happen. Your thoughts become clearer. Your breathing slows down. The mental chaos starts to fade. And when your mind finally becomes quieter, you realize something important. Most of the fear wasn't coming from reality. It was coming from the endless noise surrounding it. But even after clearing your mind, one mistake can keep anxiety alive. Many people believe they need to feel confident before taking action. The truth is exactly the opposite. Confidence is created after action, not before it. And that's the powerful lesson we'll explore next. Before you can stop worrying, you need to understand why it feels so automatic. Most people believe they worry because they're weak, overly emotional, or simply bad at handling stress, but that's not the real reason. Your brain has one primary mission: keep you alive. Thousands of years ago, our ancestors faced real dangers every day. Wild animals, harsh weather, and food shortages meant that the people who noticed threats first were the ones most likely to survive. Over time, the human brain became incredibly good at spotting danger. The problem is that evolution hasn't caught up with modern life. Today, you're far more likely to worry about an email, a job interview, a medical test, or what someone thinks about you than about a wild predator. But your brain doesn't always know the difference. To your survival system, uncertainty often feels like danger. That's why a simple unanswered text message can suddenly become, "Maybe they're upset with me." A small mistake at work becomes, what if I lose my job? A tiny headache becomes, what if something is seriously wrong? Notice what happened. The facts never changed. Only the story inside your mind did. This is why overthinking is so exhausting. Your brain keeps trying to solve problems that don't actually exist yet. And here's the hidden cost. Every imaginary problem uses real mental energy. The more time you spend fighting situations that haven't happened, the less energy you have for the life happening right now. The first step towards freedom isn't forcing yourself to stop thinking. It's learning to recognize when your brain is predicting instead of observing. The moment you can say, "This is a fear, not a fact," you create a small space between yourself and your thoughts. And in that small space, your mind begins to regain control. But recognizing the problem is only the beginning. The next step is learning how to separate real problems from the endless imaginary disasters your brain creates every single day. That simple habit can completely change the way you experience anxiety. Here's something that changes everything once you realize it. Not every thought deserves your attention. Your brain produces thousands of thoughts every single day. Some are useful. Some are creative. Others are completely made up by fear. The problem is that most people treat every anxious thought as if it's a warning. But thoughts are not facts. Imagine you're walking outside and dark clouds suddenly appear. You don't instantly assume a storm will destroy your entire day. You simply notice the clouds and wait for more information. Your thoughts deserve the same treatment. The next time anxiety shows up, pause and ask yourself one simple question. Is this a real problem, or is it a story my brain is creating? That single question can interrupt the cycle of overthinking almost immediately. A real problem is something happening right now that requires action. Maybe you forgot to pay a bill. Maybe you have an important deadline tomorrow. Maybe you need to apologize after making a mistake. Those problems have solutions. But an imaginary problem sounds different. What if I embarrass myself? What if they secretly don't like me? What if everything goes wrong? Notice the pattern. They're built on possibilities, not evidence. Your brain loves filling in the blanks with worst-case scenarios because uncertainty feels uncomfortable. But worrying about a future you can't predict doesn't prepare you. It only drains your energy. Think of it like rocking in a rocking chair. You're moving constantly. You're using plenty of energy, yet you're not getting anywhere. Instead of asking, "What if something bad happens?" try asking, "If it does happen, what can I actually do about it?" That small shift changes you from a victim of your imagination into someone who trusts their ability to adapt. Because confidence doesn't come from knowing the future. It comes from knowing you'll handle whatever the future brings. And once you stop fighting imaginary battles, your mind finally has the space to focus on real life. But there's another hidden reason anxiety keeps getting louder, and it's something millions of people do every day without even realizing it. Here's one of the biggest lies anxiety ever tells you. Wait until you feel ready. It sounds reasonable. It even feels safe. But if you wait until fear completely disappears, you may spend your entire life waiting. Think about a child learning to ride a bicycle. They don't become confident first and then start riding. They become confident because they keep riding, even after falling. Life works the same way. Every time you avoid something that scares you, your brain receives a dangerous message. Good thing we escaped. That situation must have been a real threat. The fear grows stronger. The comfort zone becomes smaller, and the next challenge feels even bigger than the last. But something amazing happens when you take action despite feeling nervous. Your brain begins collecting evidence. I survived. It wasn't as bad as I expected. Maybe I can handle difficult situations after all. That's how confidence is built. Not through positive thinking, not through waiting, through experience. Maybe you've been putting off an important conversation. Maybe you've delayed applying for your dream job. Maybe you've been waiting to start a business, go to the gym, or finally chase a goal that matters to you. Ask yourself this: what's the smallest action you can take today? Not next month, not when you feel perfect, today. Because progress rarely begins with giant leaps. It begins with tiny decisions repeated consistently. One phone call, one application, one workout, one honest conversation. Those small actions slowly teach your brain that uncertainty isn't something to fear. It's simply a normal part of growth. Eventually, you'll notice something remarkable. The situations that once kept you awake at night no longer control your thoughts. Not because life became easier, but because you became stronger. And that's the greatest victory over anxiety. You don't eliminate uncertainty. You become the kind of person who can move forward even when uncertainty exists. The truth is, your brain will probably always try to predict what could go wrong. That's part of being human. But you don't have to believe every fearful story it tells. Every time you focus on facts instead of fears, every time you choose action over avoidance, every time you return your attention to the present moment, you take back a little more control over your life. Remember, peace doesn't come from knowing exactly what tomorrow will bring. It comes from trusting yourself to handle whatever tomorrow brings. So stop waiting for a future without uncertainty. Start building a life that's stronger than your worries. If this video helped you see your mind in a new way, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to hear this. Your next habit could be the one that changes someone else's life.